Ryan Day spoke to local media this Tuesday afternoon to give a report on the Ohio State football team. Jim Knowles did speak a little bit as well, our defensive coordinator for the Buckeyes, but it's an off week for Ohio State, so not a ton to talk about, but Ryan Day did give some updates on this team, so let's get into it here on the Ohio State Football Report. OH Buckeye fans, how we doing today here on the Ohio State Football Report? Matt Goldman here to talk about what's going on in the latest for the Buckeyes in this 2024 college football season. But before we get into everything that Ryan Day talked about, I need you to do something for me. Hit that like button if you're a Buckeye and you want to support the Buckeyes against the world, because that's our motto. It's Ohio against the world. It's the Buckeyes against the world. So, let's go against the world. Let's hit that like button. Let's get this video started, because if you want to learn more about Ryan Day, I'm going to give you what Ryan Day spoke about today at the press conference and learn some new things about what he had to say about his team. And the first thing he had to say is what is going on during this bye week. He said this: we're calling this week an improvement week. We need to continue to improve. We've got to stay in rhythm. We have to get a great week of practice. We need to treat it like a game week. And I was curious, why did he say an improvement week? And I'm glad someone, when I was watching the press conference, asked this question to Ryan Day. You don't usually have 2 bye weeks, especially this early in the season. These guys are hungry. They don't want to rest right now. They understand how important this is. They want to get better. I couldn't agree more with that statement. It's a key time to relax. Again, I know only 2 games that Ohio State played against lesser opponents, but you have to get your body right when it comes to playing football always, and we know how rough the sport of football is when it comes to injuries and keeping guys healthy. If Ohio State can do that, I'm all for it always. And the fact that Ohio State has this early to relax, get prepping, get filming, they get to watch how Michigan got ultimately destroyed against Texas and get more film study in for Oregon and Penn State. Fine by me. Let the players rest, let the coaches rest, and get mentally prepared for this. Also, Ryan Day talked about Denzel Burke in the targeting call that was against him during the Western Michigan game. Chase Brown of 11 Warriors tweeted this out earlier today. And Ryan Day's answer was this: there were a couple different opinions on that, he said. That's all I can say. I wish I could say more. And he said this about Denzel, is that this is kind of a learning experience for Denzel and that he's going to be able to get better from this. Denzel is one of the best cornerbacks in America. He will be a first-round pick, most likely in this 2025 NFL draft. And he's a great player. But for the targeting call to happen, I'm not so happy about it, just because you're always taught not to lean in with your helmets or the crown of your helmet or wherever is in the shoulder and neck area. So for Denzel to do that, especially as a guy who's a senior, not the biggest positive moment for him to be doing that. And I know Jim Knowles was not too happy about that either. But Ryan Day, he has to be feeling good about the way his team's playing. But again, learning moment, doesn't have a ton to say about Denzel Burke. That's all good. Another thing that Ryan Day talked about was a guy that's really popular in college football this year. He was popular last year with the Buckeyes. Maybe not in the best way at times, but he is the guy, and that's Kyle McCord. Ryan Day said this, and Chase Brown did tweet it once again. He's been happy to see Kyle McCord have success at Syracuse, playing through 2 games this past 2 weeks. Day said McCord poured a lot into the Ohio State football program with how hard he worked with his 3 years in Columbus. And that's nice about McCord. That's really good words to say about Kyle and the way he played at Ohio State. And let's do a little comparison. It's Will Howard for Ohio State versus the predecessor in Kyle McCord. Through 2 games, these are the statistics to compare these two. Now, pretty even stuff in terms of the completion percentage. The yards, McCord been airing out a lot more, only because of the fact that Ohio State's run game has been getting established and they've been running the heck out of the ball lately. Again, that also has to do with the passing touchdowns. McCord has doubled Will Howard's passing touchdowns, but the average of when Will is throwing is better overall. McCord does have 1 mistake this year, and that's 1 interception, but Kyle McCord is playing really well as the Syracuse quarterback, and I'm happy to see what McCord has done and kind of rebounded after he was ousted in Columbus, and people told him kind of, get out, like, you're not good enough to play here at Ohio State. But you know what? Will Howard's great. Kyle McCord's doing well. Can't you be happy for both guys? I have a question for you guys quickly in the comment section. Did Ohio State make the right move to move on from Kyle McCord? Type Y for yes, type N for no, if you think Ohio State made a mistake or not. Personally, I think Ohio State did a fine job with their quarterback situation, Both quarterbacks are happy. Both are starting. Will Howard's now in the Big Ten. Kyle McCord's in the ACC. Still a good quarterback, still being talked about. Even a dark horse Heisman candidate all of a sudden. I think that's a little much to say about Kyle McCord, but still a great person, great athlete, has all the love in the world for Ohio State, and I love to hear that. I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Game Time, the best ticketing app experience I've had so far. The New York Yankees were in town not just long ago, who were down here in Texas to face the Rangers, and I got a crazy good deal from Game Time just a day before the game. I sat in the first concourse in left field for an extremely low cost. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you the incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. When I was able to go to the Yankees game, I got a super deal. It was 10% off already super cheap tickets, and I couldn't believe it. I was able to see the exact view of my seats before I bought them and had the awesome super deal, and it had the lowest price guaranteed. Your purchase is also covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Also, the all-in pricing is sweet. You can toggle this feature to show the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. All right, so let's talk about another topic that was asked today by the local media to Ryan Day and to Jim Knowles about a guy that's been talked about a lot lately, that's been getting a lot of hype ever since he was in high school, and that's C.J. Hicks, the linebacker for Ohio State. He really has not been playing much in these last two games, especially the fact that this linebacker room was kind of wide open going to this year. We knew Sonny Styles was making the transfer over to linebacker from hybrid safety. We knew that Cody Simon was returning. We didn't know exactly what Cody Simon's role was going to be, but we had a feeling he was going to be one of the starting two linebackers, only because Ohio State does start just two linebackers. And we knew Arvell Reese was also making the transition from defensive end to linebacker, but we didn't know how smooth it was going to be, so everyone kind of assumed it would be C.J. Hicks' time to be starting after how highly recruited he was. Ryan Day believes in C.J. Hicks, but it sounds like he and Ohio State linebackers coach James Laurinaitis, one of my favorite players of all time, by the way, still want to see more consistency out of him now and in the future. Day said this in quotes: "We believe in CJ in a big way. We want him, need him to play linebacker." I mean, based on what I'm hearing, yeah, that's all great, rainbows and sunshines. But the recruiting profile that CJ Hicks has, it's not too great based on the fact that you haven't had him play. His recruiting profile is great. My apologies for saying that. He was great in terms of getting him as a 5-star. Look at him. He was the 10th overall best player in America. Second best linebacker, second best player in the state of Ohio. And that's the Ohio State expectation when you get CJ Hicks. I just don't understand the hype that came into what CJ was going to bring to Ohio State, and it hasn't translated. And he's been here for not one, not two, but 3 years with the Buckeyes. I kind of think that's crazy to think that this development of CJ Hicks maybe hasn't gone to plan, and maybe he's not the player that we all saw in high school and all these recruiting places, 24/7, ESPN, 11 Warriors, all these places said, you know, he's the best linebacker. We got a dog out of him. By the rankings, we did. But by the fact that CJ is barely played and is getting outplayed by Sonny Styles, a hybrid safety, now linebacker, and a former defensive end, who have been great. Don't get me wrong. Those three linebackers, including Cody Simon, have been out of this world. Ohio State's linebacker room looks way better than last year. But CJ Hicks really hasn't been it. And kind of worries me to think, okay, he's going to transfer if he doesn't really play this year. That's fine because it looks like we have a young, deep linebacker room. But how's this guy not playing? I'm asking you guys now, how concerned are you about the CJ Hicks development at Ohio State under linebacker coach James Laurinaitis and defensive coordinator Jim Knowles? Scale it 1 through 10 for me, because are we going to sound the alarms? Is it going to be a 10? Or are we, oh my God, this guy is not it at all? Or is it 1? Matt, relax, we're good. This guy is part of the depth. who knows what's going to happen throughout the season. You're right. Who knows? All right, so we're going to talk about another former Ohio State quarterback. There's just so many in college football, it seems, because once we bring them in to recruit, they transfer out if they're not going to play right away. And that's Quinn Ewers. Ryan Day commented on the Michigan versus Texas game today in the press conference this Tuesday. He said, Quinn had a great win. That's all I'm sure he was going to say anyways, because I know he won't talk about the team up north or give them any validation at all, because why would Ryan Day give them validation after they got absolutely smoked at home? And that was great to see. But he also had to talk about another guy that's been really making a difference for Ohio State, and that's Ty Hamilton, who I've been talking about lately on this defensive line. He said this, Ty has been reliable, durable, somebody that we can count on for a few years now. He's put time and he's put effort, he's put work into this program. You can't say enough about somebody like this. He's the ultimate team player. And I couldn't agree more with what Ty Hamilton's done so far on a defensive line that's already so deep, that has multiple first-round pick potentials in Jack Sawyer, JTT, and Tyleik Williams, and Caden McDonald's coming right behind with Hero Kanu. So there's a lot of talent. But his PFF grades have been really good so far for a guy who's not that perennial powerhouse star. He's doing really well for his role. 77.5 PFF grade. He's had 5 stops, which according to PFF, if you read the definitions on stops, that's better than a tackle. You stop the guy in their tracks right then and there. He's had 1 sack through 2 games, and his tackle rating is very similar to what his overall PFF grade is. Very happy to see what Ty Hamilton has done for Ohio State. That's a key player for this Buckeyes team, and I think he should stay another year at Ohio State, develop even further. I know that could cause some guys deeper down the roster to transfer out, but if a guy we have starting right now can play another year after this and is developing in this way, why not keep Ohio State's Ty Hamilton one more year? Jim Knowles had this to say on Ty Hamilton, his defensive coordinator, the guy that leads him and his D-line. Ty is quiet, but he's like a cold-blooded gentleman. He's a force. Sometimes that might be difficult to see, but when you watch the tape, he is really knocking people back and creating difficult situations for the offense. I like what I'm hearing. That's great. And the fact that Ty Hamilton kind of has been that guy that isn't being talked about enough in a good way, fine by me. But I think just overall with the way this media afternoon went on Tuesday with the local media asking him questions, there was really no surprises, nothing to get upset about, nothing to overreact about, I hope, because of the fact that I talked about Kyle McCord and Will Howard. I don't think there's anything wrong with that to talk about, but this is all good. Ohio State's on an improvement week, and they got Marshall less than 2 weeks away to look to go to 3-0. That's going to do it now here on the Ohio State Football Report. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Keep continuing to subscribe, like the video, do everything you want to support this channel because I always appreciate it. Go Bucks.